Women are followers, not leaders.
You can try to hold her back.
You can try to bring her down.
She got promoted instead of him. She was probably sleeping with the boss.
You can accredit her success to her promiscuity.
You can call her a high maintenance liability.
But guess what?
She's here to stay.
I'm Shivani Mathur, Youth Ambassador for UNGC in the UAE. The SDGs that I'm most passionate about are Goal 5, Gender Equality, Goal 10, Reduce Inequalities, and Goal 16, Peace, Justice and Strong Institutions. For a long time now, I've been deeply interested in studying about diversity, inclusion, equality, and justice, all from the lens of intersectionality. In April of 2017, I directed a documentary called She's Here to Stay, which focused on issues that women face in the workplace. These issues were wage gap, glass ceiling, and sexual harassment at the workplace. I was very fortunate to have women from different age brackets, from different nationalities, and from different industries and realms talking about the problems and the solutions. Some of the problems that were noticed were that girls are discouraged from pursuing unconventional careers from a young age, and that there are some really bad attitudes surrounding work-life balance for women. The solutions that they advocated for had to do with equal pay. They had to do with encouraging employers to promote women as much as men for executive positions, and destigmatizing conversations about sexual harassment. At the time that I made this documentary, I really did not expect the kind of praise and appreciation that it got me. I just really wanted to create content and put it out there, content that highlighted gender inequality. I was not only lucky enough to get as much praise that I did from my peers, mentors and superiors, I even had the honor of having my documentary be screened at the Palace of the Royal Highness Sheikh Shama. What's noteworthy about this documentary is that there were some definitive consistencies in terms of the problems that the women talked about. One of these patterns was that whether they were entrepreneurs, whether they were lawyers or marketing and HR managers, whoever they were, they almost unanimously agreed that three issues definitely exist: wage gap, glass ceiling, and sexual harassment at the workplace. With books such as Lean In becoming bestsellers and the Weinstein scandal coming to light, we're definitely moving in the right direction in terms of acknowledging that these issues are real instead of invalidating their existence. My documentary shows an array of women who talk about issues that happen in workplaces all around the world, thereby giving my documentary definitely a global perspective. Since my documentary features women from all over the world who discuss problems that they faced from workplaces all over the world, I can say with conviction that my documentary has a global outreach and that they offer global solutions to global problems. I hope you enjoyed this documentary. Here's presenting to all of you, She's Here to Stay.
A woman has two jobs actually. We are householders and going to the workforce both.
I think it's an old-fashioned term when we think about glass ceiling. It's something that's there, and in a sad way it was put there when times were very hard and there was definitely a glass ceiling. In fact, for a long time it was probably just a cement ceiling, and then it just became a little clearer. So hopefully now it's becoming a little more opaque, and hopefully it's just becoming the sky soon. I think the glass ceiling, reduction is the wrong word. I think it needs to be eliminated.
My understanding, I don't think women are discouraged in any way. I think if women think that they are discouraged, then they're just being part of the problem.
Then why are less than 5% executive positions in multinational corporations held by women?
I believe that from the time women start school, it's not just the corporate ladder. I think that when we start school, we're instantly put into education systems in which elevate male students, and a lot of the female gifted and skills are held down from an early age. And so it's ingrained in us to not fight our way to the top. It's ingrained in us to not push forward. Generally, when you push forward, you're looked at as emotional or rude, or You know, when you put your ideas forward, a man can have a conversation and he can interrupt in the middle of the conversation, and he just interrupts and takes over the conversation. If a woman does it, who are you to interrupt? Why are you interrupting? You don't have a place or a say. And so it's just it's a perception that's ingrained in us from when we're little, and that perception has to change from preschool, elementary school, primary on up.
An equally qualified and experienced woman is less likely to be promoted than her male counterparts, as employers assume that she would put in less amount of working hours and would slow down in her career once she raises a family.
I think this is the most common inequality that we face, and it's very disheartening.
In MNCs, I wonder sometimes if they are advocating equality in the workplace because it looks good or because they really believe it. I think that it's interesting to see, studies have shown that when there's equality on a board, equality on a leadership team, male and female, not more female and not more male, but when that equality exists, projects get done faster, the speed to launch is greater, and the growth in the company is greater. I do believe that women help each other break that glass ceiling. And I think that women are able to look at a prospect and at a team member in a more fair and equal manner without a gender bias or a racial bias.
Another upcoming urban problem that's preventing the women from rising to the top is sexual harassment at the workplace. First and foremost, we need to have more awareness about this matter. Sexual harassment is beyond rape and molestation, and there is a verbal aspect to it too. And until this is tackled, equality and mutual respect cannot be accomplished in the workplace.
Sexual harassment in the workplace is something that should never, it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen, it shouldn't be tolerated, and it certainly shouldn't happen in terms of prospects for promotion or favors or anything like that.
You're going to lose good workers if you don't end the problem of sexual harassment in the work.
The basic incentive for any employer, I would think, is the fact that the brain power that's out there. This is half the population. This is 2017, and women are well able to work, and they have proven themselves around the world that they can hold very, very capable jobs.
Companies should have policies, or countries should have policies like paternity leaves, where men can also contribute, especially to raising children or looking after the time when women need to be off work. But having said that, I think there's another important point, and a question that comes into my mind is that women need to be more competitive due to their conditioning, the way they've been brought up, or the way what society expects out of them. They sometimes take a back seat. It's okay to take care of your family, to put your interest in first, but if you're taking up a career, you can balance all these things, all right? You need to show your competitiveness, you need to show your skill set, you need to present yourself and make the organization feel that yes, I am going to be available when there is a requirement. I have the skill set, I have the competencies, I can develop myself. Most important, I can deliver and take high-level decisions because I have everything that needs to be there to take those decisions.
And I think that women are able to look at a prospect and at a team member in a more fair and equal manner without a gender bias or a racial bias.
That the men have their networks and they have their clubs and they schmooze and they can kind of position themselves into jobs that they're looking for, whereby perhaps women don't always do that. I do think that women can begin to do that. And women can also look within the workplace to find mentors for themselves. They can also look to find almost sponsors, and not necessarily sponsors within the workplace. And sponsors is different than mentorship. But sponsors perhaps within the sector they want to work at, and then maybe work with them outside the company. They might not necessarily be within the company. But again, it's people of influence and people who can help them perhaps take just a different direction, give them different ideas. And now all this is available. In my day, it wasn't. So right now I do look at just the welcoming spirit that's out there for women the amount of support groups that are there within particularly all of the big companies, within all of the big sectors. And I really do believe that young women have to just step up and be part of this and be a little bit more proactive.
Networking is really important, I think, for any one of us, but especially for women, and networking in the right place. There have been times that I know I have not been taken seriously. You put on mascara, blush, and lipstick, and suddenly you're not taken very seriously. However, I'm not going to change who I am or my appearance in any way, shape, or form. So you have to network, you have to learn to network with the right people. I will say, as females, they tend to get flattered by male compliments. You cannot flirt in any way, shape, or form. You cannot be perceived in any way, shape, or form except for the business person that you are. You can't allow yourself to be flattered by any type of male compliment in that way. And that's part of, I think, some of the issues in the workplace is the males will do that. And if there's any type of flirtation back, you won't be taken seriously. So the networking with the right key people, and that takes time and experience to learn who those right and key people are.
When many countries form an alliance to pursue a shared goal, it's referred to as multilateralism. Multilateralism has been a concept applied and seen throughout history. The establishment of organizations such as the UN and World Bank is on the very principle of multilateralism. Whether it's because of the severity of general political instability globally or climate change, multilateralism is becoming more and more widespread and apparent in current day and as time passes.
The Montreal Agreement, the Kellogg-Briand Pact, Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement, and NPT Agreement are all examples of agreements wherein more than 3 nations came together to adopt treaties for a shared cause. Whether the purpose of these agreements is to urge countries to revise policies to protect the ozone layer by phasing out substances that cause ozone depletion, to practice climate action, or work towards achieving nuclear disarmament, they are all multilateral.
Even the SDGs themselves are an example of multilateralism being applied to achieve shared goals relating to an array of parameters that signify development, forging equality, ensuring access to education, climate change, better health care, poverty reduction, reducing corruption. However debatable the overall effectiveness of these agreements might be, they definitely testify the importance of multilateralism in achieving a macro global change.
The youth play a valuable part in multilateralism in achieving the SDGs by 2030. Because of the rise in popularity of social media, people all over the world seem to be coming closer. Globalization is rapidly increasing because of the internet, and since the world seems to be coming closer through social media, people and youth are more aware of cultures, heritage, stories, and struggles of people living in lands much farther than their own. Be it because of celebrity influence or the increase in genuine interest in world news, social media is becoming a mouthpiece for opinions of the youth, as well as a platform to showcase their projects, many of which directly or indirectly promote SDGs and their targets. Whether it's posts about the importance of recycling, volunteering to teach impoverished children, saying no to plastic, or choosing ethical brands, and whether these posts come from large organizations or students and regular people, when best practices aligned with achieving SDG targets become popular, it shows a somewhat measurable impact of awareness. Often these movements, posts, and projects are trackable through hashtags, and many of these are heavily pioneered and streamlined by the youth. It also helps spread innovation in the diverse ways in which people youth and otherwise, can implement and adopt SDGs, be it in their businesses across the organization or in their personal lives. The opportunity that the internet provides for organizations to get in touch with potential employees directly assists with achieving and corresponds to some of the targets of SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, especially Target 8.2.
To achieve higher levels of economic productivity through diversification, technological upgrading and innovation, including through a focus on high value added and labor intensive sectors.
Also, with the internet providing a space for NGOs and institutions working towards humanitarian work to find and get in touch with interested volunteers directly, and also a place for useful and relevant multimedia content to thrive and prosper, the networking that the internet and social media have propelled constantly help projects aligned with and in support of SDGs to grow.